acceptance of the minutes that are available, which are May 15th, which was a budget meeting, excuse me, May 16th, which was a joint meeting with the school committee, May 17th, which was a selectmen's meeting, May 17th, executive session, and May 24th, the selectmen's meeting. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Next agenda item is Town Treasurer Phyllis Vetris, and it's in reference to the paperwork that's necessary for the borrowing of architectural fees for the design of the new elementary school. So, Phyllis, come on board.
Okay. I'm happy to know there's only one note
Oh, great. That's wonderful,
for
Phyllis.
1.2 million. And if you will sign where all the yellow tags are,
Okay.
not the red, just the yellow.
Just the yellow? Okay.
Oh, God, that's that.
Oh. Mark, you want to start on that one?
Sure.
It's a couple more. Just the yellow.
Yeah. Oops, I left it over for you.
How do we do on the interest, Phyllis? Just the yellow ones?
4.98, and before we go any further, you have to accept this bid.
4.8 inches?
4.98.
Interest rates are creeping up, huh?
Okay. The bottom is already done. That's the mark.
Fleet Bank was the low bid.
You say Fleet Bank is the lowest?
Not the red ones, right?
Right.
We'll get those back this way.
Get this one.
Trying to get those stickers in
Guys, missed that one?
No, the heat mark had them.
Yeah, all of those.
This is all one bundle. Yeah.
Well, your office is obviously very busy.
Very. Could we have a vote to accept this bid of 4.98?
Absolutely, absolutely, just as soon as Dean finishes. I'll accept a motion that we accept the bonds that are in anticipation at an interest rate of 4.98% to Fleet National Bank.
I'll make the motion to accept the elementary school bonds for the Fleet National Bank.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Yeah, and then, just under discussion, that's for $1.2 million.
Yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Phyllis. Board has a,
Thank you.
thank you, Phyllis. Board has a joint meeting with the Parks and Rec, and it's in reference to the filling of a vacancy. So, if you guys want to come forward, or whoever.
Sure.
As I'm, just to go back, just to back up a little bit, because you folks were in our last meeting, but because there hadn't been a notice of 7 days, and we wanted to make sure that we were going to abide by the bylaws, that we had notification in the paper of the vacancy, so I certainly believe that we are well within our rights now to go forward. And this being a joint appointment by both the Parks and Rec Commission and the Board of Selectmen. So I'll yield to you, Bev, or Mike, whoever wants to. Do you want to discuss?
Sure. We'll give you our recommendation. I sent you a letter, and it stated that we needed to fill Bill Walsh's position. It's a 2-year term, and before the election, the past election had ended, we, excuse me, at our last meeting, recommended John Moran, or whoever was defeated out of the 3 candidates. And after the election, we said it would be John Moran because he was defeated. And that would be our recommendation.
Is there anyone on the board that would like to speak to it? Okay. All right, then I will, just for clarification, there have been 3 requests that have come forward for the filling of the vacancy. So, Alex,
Madam Chair, I just, under discussion, I'd just like to say that I would support the Parks and Rec on their recommendation. That's the way I'm going to be voting, because they have to work with this person. So that's, I just want to kind of be upfront and let them know where I'm coming from.
any other discussion?
Madam Chair, if I could just, under the statute, just to let the board know that under Chapter 41, Section 11, there's 3 things that you would need to do. One would be a roll call vote of the board members from the Board of Selectmen and the board members from the Parks and Rec. 2 would be a majority vote, would obviously prevail. And then whoever is the successful person would have to be a registered voter in the town. I just wanted to point that out to you, the most important part being that it needs to be a roll call vote.
Well, I was actually going to call for nominations.
Right, I just wanted to make sure you understood what the parameters were from a legal standpoint, obviously.
Good, thank you. Okay, so I'll open up nominations for the position.
Okay, we would like to to nominate John Moran to fill the position of the late William Walsh for a 2-year term.
Is there any other nominations? Move nominations are closed. Requires a roll call. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye.
Aye.
Parks and Rec?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I believe it's unanimous. Is Mr. Moran here? I'd like to just congratulate you and wish you all the very best. Let the record reflect that it was unanimous by both boards.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, the board has a liquor license public hearing for 9 Sterling Street. The parties present and anyone who's representing them. Could you identify yourselves and your addresses, please, for...
My name is Wendy Rivera.
Did you say, I'm sorry, Wendy?
Wendy Rivera, and I'm co-owner of the restaurant Rincon Criollo located at 9 Sterling Street.
My name is Eddie George, J-O-R-G-E last name. I'm the general manager at Rincon Criollo, 9 Sterling Street.
Are you being represented by counsel this evening, or?
No, we came by ourselves.
Okay.
Also, the president of the company is with us, but he's not feeling too well, but he's here. Fernando Garcia is his name.
So, you did all of this yourself?
Yes.
You didn't use legal counsel, or?
No, we have an accountant.
Oh, okay.
Which I asked some questions, but that's all.
Okay. All right, well, we'll open the public hearing officially, and I believe your request is to have a beer and wine pouring license
Yes.
at your establishment. Okay. And have you ever held a license before, a liquor license before?
No, I don't. He's worked before in a place where they have the license. He worked as bartender and also as waitress, so he can tell you about.
I know that, I'll just open up for discussion. One of the, I know when you first came in for your restaurant, your common viculars license, that at that point you said you just were looking to open up the restaurant to serve food. I'm curious why you, so shortly after, and now have a desire to go into the liquor portion of it.
Yes, because we find out that people go and sit down and they ask, to have, if they can have some wine or a beer with the food, and so we think that we're missing on that because a lot of people are requesting it. So we think that if we can provide that, then we can keep those customers that want to have wine with his food, or that's the main reason for it.
Just one of the difficulties I have, that since you opened that business, that I find that on a very frequent basis, just running it as a restaurant serving food, is people parking in front of your place and around the establishment, which certainly it adheres to potential accidents and traffic tie-ups in that area. And I just sense that, from my own perspective, obviously, is that I would think if you had a liquor license, it would certainly increase the volume of business that perhaps people would be going into frequent to...
That's something that we tried to have address with the some of the police department and also through the Chamber of Commerce that they try to help us with that. When the people come, we told them that not to park in front. Maybe if there's not parking, they can park ahead, not right in front of the restaurant. There's also people that go to the auto, how you say? Auto mechanic, and they park right in front of the restaurant. So we already been told that if there's gonna be a no parking sign in front of the restaurant, a month ago, we were told, consider it done. We're gonna put a no parking sign, and then the parking sign that is in the park across the street is gonna be taken off because they've never enforced that sign. So that's what we've been told. They're gonna take that sign off and they're gonna put one right in front of the restaurant. We want that, but that hasn't happened. I don't know why, if it's something that takes some time to be done, or.
Well, that's not your fault if there isn't a no parking sign. That's something that,
But I'm
we've
sure that's
been
something
looking
that
to.
prevent the people from parking there. The only thing we can do is tell them, not park right in front, which we've been doing. But like I said, there's also people that goes to the other, the next door place that park right in front of the restaurant too. If there's a no parking sign, they know they can't do that.
Okay. Brad, do you have any questions?
Just a few, more so much questions than your statements. I would vote for this, but I can't because it's complimentary. My parents own a liquor establishment in the town. But I've heard nothing but good things about your establishment. And I would be in favor of it, but it's, like I said, I can't vote for it because it's a conflict of interest. But I think that's one of the reasons why you want a beer and wine out, is obviously to increase your business. And I think once we do have no parking sign in front of that, we'll really help out the parking crisis there. So that's all I have to say. Good luck.
Jerry?
Well, when you come up with that license, I told you that that was right in the travel lane, But right from the beginning, they parked out there every day. And I see them going in the place. Because when I go down to a dinner time, they all park there, and some of them, they're out there for an hour or so out in front. Some of them are there 15, 20 minutes. Because that's, when it comes down, right, almost in front of where you are, it breaks down the 2 lanes, go down the light. And either the ones coming up have to stop to let the other ones come through. But right when I did for the restaurant, I told you that it was so tight down there. You said, oh, they're going to park over in the park. We'll tell them to park over in the park. It isn't working.
Yeah.
So I'd kind of be...
The reason it's not working is because there's no parking
Yeah,
sign.
there's still the no parking signs up, Jerry.
So, all I would say is that my sentiments would be the same as Jerry's. The parking, you have to try to enforce it with your customers. If they, if you notice that they're sitting for a few minutes to maybe have them move the vehicle. It's just that it is a tight intersection right there, and I'd hate to see anybody get hurt. It's not good for, getting hurt is not good for anybody. But I would be in favor of granting the license, but I need to see some enforcement from you and also from the police department and the Chamber of Commerce. If you're working with those folks already, that's great. And I hope that sign does come about for you.
Okay.
That's all I
Any other questions? As is customary, I will yield to the solicitor to ask him.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have 2 procedural questions that I have to ask you under the statute, and one is the applicant at least 21 years of age or older?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. And have you ever been convicted of a federal or state narcotic law?
No.
Okay, thank you. I have to ask you that under the statute. I read your application, I appreciate it, but I just need to put that on the record. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. There's a public comment, so I will ask if there's anyone out there that would like to speak against this request. Move that closed. Would like to see if there's anyone that would like to speak in favor of. Move that portion closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I make the motion that we grant the beer and wine pouring license to the business at 9 Sterling Street in Clinton.
Is there a second? There's no second to the motion? Motion does not carry. All I can tell you is your motion didn't carry for your request. You certainly have every right to come back, I believe. Is there a time frame, Dennis? I don't think so. So obviously you can come back again if you would like. Again, my concerns are the traffic.
Mine too.
And certainly if I can see, and part of that obviously has to be that we have to erect a no parking sign, but I know that it has been a constant basis of concern, certainly for the board members, that there has been consistently traffic out in front of your establishment. I don't believe it's related to the garage. It's been there for a number of years, and I would say that it's been mostly due to, and I believe me, I have heard nothing but, nice things about your place, that the food is good and your place is nice and clean and you serve wonderful food. But it certainly is a concern. I think that we need to look at and be comfortable with that aspect of it.
Okay.
If we can see it's changing the traffic down there, I'd be willing to go along with it, but right now it's a disaster down there.
Madam
Because I
Chair,
go that way every day for dinner. I go back and forth, and it's just, you have to stop and wait for somebody to let you go around the cars that are parked out in front at dinner time. Either you stop and let somebody come the other way. There isn't room for two going this way and one coming this way and one parked on the side. There isn't room for 4 cars there. And every day it's the same thing. I mean, if you could talk to your people, if we get the signs up, if I see a change in it, I'd gladly go along with it.
Part of what we can do as well is have the traffic committee look at that area out there to see if there's some way that we can help to resolve the traffic issue down and in that area. Because it really is, for space-wise, it's a bad spot. Okay, so we will have the traffic committee as well look at that to see if there's some form that they can come up. Maybe they can help us out on this to see if there's something that we can do. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ahead?
Not really. Our next agenda item is the water filtration plant, and our Geologic services engineers will be here. And either we're a few minutes early or they're a few minutes late, so. I'll accept a motion to go out of order.
I'll make a motion to go out of order.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. We have some, I'll just, because Michael's out of the room, I'll just go into the first thing on the administrator's report is late night closings, and we've had requests for the month of June from Breakaway Billiards and the Old Timers.
I'll make a motion, we grant the request, and any more that come in if we don't have a meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
one
Mike,
abstention.
Mark abstains, 3 in favor, 1.
If any more come in, Michael, I include them in there.
Okay, sure,
Yeah.
yeah. This, I think with the late month, we've only had 2, so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, regulars.
Okay, you're on, Mike.
Okay. Next item is just the report from the dog officer for the period April of 2000 for review of his operations.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion, we accept the dog office report for the month of April.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next is a request from the Rural Housing Incorporated of Winchton, RHI. They're requesting the town of Clinton to do a support letter for their application to the Department of Housing and Community Development in Boston to be available to administer a loan program for first-time home buyers. This would be a second soft loan program that they would then make available. They're a nonprofit entity that distributes government aid. And what they would do is people could go to them and they can either refer them or assist them and help them with the application. They have one in, their sister corporation has one in the next county over, and they're looking to do one in Worcester County. So in order to have Clinton people be able to apply to them, they're looking for the town of Clinton to send in a letter supporting them to run this program up in Winchton. So they already run several programs that do overlap and that Clinton is part of. So this is a new program they're asking for the board's support.
It's a pleasure of the board.
I'll make a motion, we send a letter of support.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
The next is a request from the Clinton Police Relief Association for block dances in the month of July and August. They are looking to do each Friday. Last year or the year before, recently they switched to Fridays and it worked out very well. So they're asking for the board's permission to block off Church Street and use the area in front of the town hall. On July 14th and July 21st, there was already a booking for the town hall for Clinton Community Theater. So the police union has agreed to use Union Street for those 2 nights over on the other side of the park.
Okay, it's the pleasure of the board.
I'll make the motion that we grant the Clinton Police Relief Association permission to hold block dances.
Second.
Any discussion?
Are they gonna block off that section over there now? When they move from here on the 14th and the 21st?
Yeah.
We're gonna close down that section?
Yeah, they'll close down Union from Chestnut down to,
Yep, okay.
to the post office. Yeah.
That's very good.
Any other discussion?
Just in the discussion, Madam Chair, I believe when I was reading the report on that, they're talking about 2 police officers. I don't know if we should have an element down in the meeting on 2 police officers. I mean, we spent a lot of money in the Central Park. Why would you go 2 to 300 kids down there at one time? I don't think 2 police officers can control the flow of the kids on those other days where they're going to be in front of the town hall. That'd be my only discussion.
Well, I think they do in their letters, you said they do reference to the fact that, to protect the surrounding properties from vandalism, and, I mean, that's, obviously, I think that's my concern. Yeah, no, I mean, that's my concern too, obviously, that we don't want to see, something happen, but obviously we can't be tremendously overprotective of it either and not allow people to use it, so we just, I think, have to rely on the fact that, they are going to have 2 people, 2 uniformed officers. Obviously, I think we'd all like to see more, but, let's see what happens. Because it is a good program, and it's a way to get the...
Usually throughout the night of the block dance, officers will come up and patrol the area.
There seems to be quite a few more.
They're in contact by radio if they ever needed any
and
assistance.
we can always make the issue too, Mark, to them, just that we want to make sure that there's special attention, paid to certain parts of the park that we want to make sure they don't have an opportunity to
Yes,
utilize.
no, it's just to put up there.
And if the board wishes, when we do our response back to give them approval for the dates in a written letter, we could include that they, try and...
It's something for future.
I think now we should do it. I think, Mark's absolutely right. We put a lot of money and time in Central Park, and certainly we don't want to prohibit the use. That's what it's there for, but we also don't want vandalism to destroy a lot of what we've done to restore it. So I think if we can do that when we do respond, that we want special, attention paid to the fountain and other things in Central Park.
Sure, yep, that can come right in the letter next week that we sent in.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay, thank you. And the last item is a request for Jasmine Parish for a one-day beer and wine license for Sunday, June 18th, to use in conjunction with their annual Polish picnic. They'll be held on the church grounds from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Franklin Street.
It's a pleasure of the board.
I'll make,
Chair,
okay, go ahead. That's
I'll make
right.
the motion that we grant the one-day beer and wine license for the Polish picnic.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Michael, I know Geological Services were supposed to be here for 6:25.
Yeah, they are on the hallway.
Okay.
So they're
Want
ready
them in?
whenever,
Yep.
whenever the board
Yep.
needs to.
Are they gonna set up, Mike?
Yeah, they might take a couple minutes. to
Madam
get
Chair,
ready.
I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute recess.
Sure, okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay.
It'll take long a second. I left my right in the other room, they were like,
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Mr. Bailey. How are you? Good, thanks.
Just to let the public out there know that Geological Services are engineers and are doing the design work and providing services to the town connected with the administrative order that the town of Clinton has before them. And in that administrative order, we are responsible for putting a water filtration plant online, and we are adhering to and following all of the criteria that was set forth in 1997. And having said that, I'll open to you, and you can proceed.
Okay.
Jay.
For those of you who don't know us, I'm Jay Billings with Geologic Services. This is Matt Dixon and Joel Frisch to my left. Basically, tonight I wanted to give you an overview of the regulatory environment that got you to the point you are now, and a description of the proposed project, along with some information on the project funding and schedule. Basically, the project history dates back to 1989, when the surface water treatment rule was passed by EPA. They gave primacy to the state of Massachusetts to enforce the surface water treatment rule. And basically, the rule requires treatment of all surface water to remove parasites or pathogens. The passage of the rule was basically driven by outbreaks of disease from waterborne pathogens. In 1992, the DEP and the town of Clinton met to discuss the town's obligation to meet the surface water treatment rule. And at that time, it was unclear how the MWRA was going to fit into the picture, whether they were going to provide treated water to the town or not. So the DEP agreed to postpone any decision on that until the MWRA's treatment plant location was selected. In 1993, the MWRA informed Clinton that they would not be providing treated water to the town. And by 1995, they had an approved site for a water treatment facility on Walnut Hill in Marlborough. In 1997, the town entered the administrative consent order requiring the town to comply with the surface water treatment rule and spelling out a compliance schedule. And in 1998, the town met the first milestone on the compliance schedule by putting a temporary corrosion control facility online down by the North Dyke pump station. At this point, in March of this year, we submitted the 50% design of the treatment facility to the DEP, and we're required to submit the final design by July 13th to the DEP so that they can review and approve it before October 1st, which is a funding-related deadline. Basically, the surface water treatment rule, there are ways of avoiding filtration by meeting 11 criteria. And it's those criteria that the MWRA has been in court over, trying to avoid filtration altogether. At this point, the MWRA is required to build a plant they have proposed an ozonation facility, and they've actually proposed a modular design, where if they built the whole design, it would include an ozonation plant as well as a filtration plant. The recent court decision means that they don't have to build the filtration plant now. However, in order to avoid building it in the future, they have to continue to monitor the water quality in the reservoir and meet very strict criteria. And they have to keep this watershed protection plan in place. And those are things that it's likely they're going to have to build a filtration plant in the future if they fail one of those criteria. Clinton's water system derives water from the Wachusett Reservoir. Actually, Joel, if you can put that map up there, that'd be helpful to me. All the water in the water system is derived from the North Dyke Pump Station, which is shown there. It's called out the existing pump station on that plan. Water is drawn from the North Dyke Pump Station and pumped into the distribution system at system pressure. It's stored at the Burdett Hill storage tanks and at a storage tank on Mulberry Drive. Chlorine is added to the water to kill bacteria that may be present. And as I stated earlier, the water is now treated for corrosion control. The pH and alkalinity are adjusted so it doesn't dissolve piping material and add lead and copper to the water. The problems with the system now are that there's insufficient disinfection and deactivation of bacteria, viruses, Giardia, and Cryptosporidium, according to the surface water treatment rule. There isn't enough contact time for chlorine to deactivate bacteria and viruses, and chlorine just isn't very effective against Giardia and Cryptosporidium. So the water system's out of compliance with the surface water treatment rule, but more importantly, the water system is vulnerable to outbreaks of disease by waterborne pathogens. So the solution to this is to add a filtration plant to physically remove these pathogens from the water. I've got a slide that shows Cryptosporidium cysts as well as Giardia. These are both pathogens that are found in the intestines of warm-blooded animals, and they cause intestinal disorders in people. The most famous outbreaks of Cryptosporidium are the 1993 Milwaukee outbreak, affected tens of thousands of people. And in 1996, there was an outbreak in Worcester, just before the Worcester treatment plant was put online. The Center for Disease Control didn't definitively link the outbreak in Worcester to the water system, but it strongly suspected that that's what was going on. Giardia, you're probably familiar with. It's commonly referred to as Beaver Fever. It's a disease that was first discovered when hikers were getting sick by drinking untreated surface waters. So these are the two pathogens that are difficult to treat with chlorine. Cryptosporidium has, in one portion of its life cycle, it has a very hard shell on the outside, and chlorine just doesn't penetrate that shell to deactivate it. So the most effective way to treat for crypto is to actually physically remove it from the water by filtration. The MWRA at this point, they have not met the filtration waiver criteria. However, they were able in court to convince the judge that they should build this ozonation plant at this point and wait to build a filtration plant until more of the criteria are triggered. So they are, the way I see it, the solution that they've proposed is not a permanent solution. In all likelihood, they're going to have to build this filtration plant in years to come, and they've got it 100% designed, and they've left space on the site to build it. So they're clearly gearing up to build this. It's just a matter of whether or not they can stay in compliance with these filtration avoidance criteria at this time. The MWRA's proposed system of ozonation, we looked at it to try to determine whether that'd be a good solution for Clinton, and basically came to the conclusion that it would not. for the following reasons. The construction costs of the ozonation plant compared to the filtration plant that we're proposing are comparable. The ozonation plant, or ozonation plants in general, are relatively difficult to operate. And it does not remove anything from the water. What it does is oxidize all of the organic matter in the water and change the form that that material is in, but none of it's removed from the system. So one of the concerns that the MWRA has is that after they put this ozonation plant online, they're going to have bacterial regrowth out in the system because there's a lot of basically good food for bacteria that's been generated by the ozone plant. The other thing that they've got to work with, which the town doesn't, is that there's a large storage facility that provides a significant amount of chlorine contact time for disinfection. MDC also has to control the watershed and keep this watershed protection plan in place. Every year the state comes out and makes sure that they're doing all the things that they had proposed to do. And if at any time they fail to meet those criteria, where the water quality data from the reservoir suggests there are high levels of coliform bacteria, then they will be required to put this filtration plant online. And in their consent order, they only have 18 months to do it. So they've got to have it 100% designed now. Clinton and the surface water treatment rule. Clinton is currently out of compliance and is under this consent order. To come into compliance, we're proposing filtration. The filtration system will reduce the level of harmful chlorine disinfection byproducts, which is one of the problems with just simply adding chlorine. It reacts with organic matter in the water to form other compounds which are harmful to humans. So by removing the organic matter, it makes that problem less severe. It will also significantly reduce the risk of waterborne disease and reduce or eliminate current seasonal taste and odor problems. The other thing is that the town is currently eligible for a low-interest loan to build this facility. And as I stated earlier, in our recommendation is to go with filtration because it represents a permanent solution for the town. Once you build this facility, for the design life of the facility, water treatment will not be an issue for the town. I'll give you a brief description of the project. 10 sites were studied to try to select the most optimal site for this facility. And we have arrived at what we're referring to as the Upper Ballfield site, which is former MDC land across the street from the middle school. We're proposing an 11,000 square foot building, or approximately 11,000 square foot building, to house filtration equipment, and also the corrosion control equipment would be moved to that location. The capacity of the plant is 5 million gallons a day, which exceeds the projected future demands of the town. So again, this is being conceived as a permanent solution to the town's water treatment issue. There's a 200,000 gallon clear well. That number may go up or down depending on some design criteria, but the clear well allows for contact time between the chlorine and the water. Along with this facility, there's approximately 2,700 feet of 16-inch raw water main to get the water from the North Dyke pump station to the treatment plant location, and 2,700 feet of treated water main or finished water main to get the water from the treatment plant back into the system. Water will be pumped from the North Dyke pump station under low pressure to the treatment plant. It will be then treated, put into the clear well, and repumped into the system with high head pumps following treatment. Space will be provided in the treatment plant for a community meeting room or a classroom. This is something the school building committee is in agreement with, and we think this facility might be a good educational asset for the town. It's right across the street from the schools. And the architecture that's been selected at this point has been selected to match the high school and some existing mill buildings in town, so it will be aesthetically pleasing. There's also some work associated with the project at the North Dyke Pump Station. Currently, there are high head pumps in the North Dyke Pump Station which pump water from the reservoir to the top of the tank at Burdett Hill. Those will be replaced with low head pumps with state-of-the-art variable frequency drives to transfer the water from the North Dyke Pump Station to the treatment plant. We're also proposing to use the temporary corrosion control facility after that equipment's moved over to the treatment plant as a storage area for a powdered activated carbon system. Powdered activated carbon or charcoal will be injected into the water to react with the water during the time it takes it to reach the treatment plant, and this removes taste and odor. There will also be automated backup power at both locations. Currently, if there's a power outage, it's necessary for somebody to go down to the North Dyke Pump Station and start up a manually operated pump. That will be replaced with auxiliary power equipment that automatically switches on with an automatic transfer switch. And we're also planning to remove the oil heating system and associated oil tanks at the North Dyke Pump Station because they represent a potential environmental hazard. The project funding, the state revolving fund is the source of the money for the project, and it's federal money that's given to the state to loan out at very low interest rates for projects of this type. To be eligible for the loans, you have to demonstrate that you have a significant public health threat. There were, I can't remember the numbers now, but there were like 40 or 50 projects on the list, and the top 7 or 8 got funded. So Clinton's very fortunate to have made the funding list. The projected cost of the facility is $10.2 million, and that would all be funded with a zero-interest loan. According to the DEP, it's approximately a 50% grant equivalency. The loan period is 20 years. And it is possible that the interest rate can actually be less than zero, and by that I guess it means that the town would not be required to pay back the full $10.2 million, depending on how successful the state is in reinvesting some of the other revenues to generate some additional revenue from it. The loan will be repaid through water user fee increases. Currently, the water user fees in Clinton are about 28% of the state average, and that will obviously have to change after the treatment plant is constructed. In addition to the treatment plant and North Dyke Pump Station work, we're recommending a water meter repair and replacement program to reduce the amount of unaccounted for water in the system and to more effectively bill the users of the water. The project schedule, March 15th was the 50% design milestone, which we met. There's actually a milestone that isn't shown on this, and that is the upcoming town meeting. The town is required to appropriate $10.2 million to fund the project. Even though the money ultimately comes from the state revolving fund, they won't loan the money unless the town has appropriated it at a local level. July 13th, we were required to submit our final design to DEP for review. By October 1st, the DEP will have come back to us with any comments they have to be incorporated in the final design, and we will resubmit on October 1st to DEP requesting approval to build a facility. By October 15th of 2000, the town must apply for a zero-interest loan through the state revolving fund. And November, December of 2000 is the project bidding phase. January of 2001 would be initiating construction, and we would be required to be completing construction in January of 2002 for a proposed facility startup around the middle of January of 2002. That basically gives you an overview of the project. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody has at this point. The schedule, we realize, is relatively aggressive, and we're working hard right at this point to meet the the deadline for submittal to DEP. We've been meeting with them, having progress meetings, design meetings with DEP all along, so I think we're in good shape in that regard.
Did you folks bring, Jay, did you bring which floor of the building? Did you, any drawings?
Yeah, there's an architectural rendering of the building. Matt can hold that up.
It's got it behind you.
Yeah, it's basically, it's a two-story facility. This is the view that you would have from the street. Again, it's been designed to essentially mimic some of the mill buildings and the high school building. And because of the relief on the site, only appears to be a two-story building from the back side of the building. From the street side, this is the view that you have. Actually, this is the view that you have coming down 110. And in order to facilitate chemical deliveries and that type of thing, trucks will come around the back side and make deliveries from the back side.
And just again, there will be obviously some truck movement here because chemicals do have to be delivered, but we're looking at a very short number of deliveries during the course of a month.
Yeah, the chemical storage is all designed as bulk storage. So what are we talking about truck traffic here?
3 or 4 tractor trailer trucks a month.
And the chemicals are all similar to what is being delivered to the North Dyke Pump Station for corrosion control now, with the exception of some, a polymer and possibly
A polymer, a coagulant, which will be used in small dosages, corrosion control chemicals, and then at the North Dyke Pump Station, the powder activated carbon would be delivered up there.
I know, as well as I think a good point to bring out, that there will be no odors coming from this building.
That's correct.
Or anything of that nature that you may experience at a waste treatment plant. This is completely different. There should be no odors, nothing of any displeasure coming from within that building.
That's right. There is sludge that's generated during filter backwash, which is the organic matter that's been taken out of the water, and that will be discharged to a sewer line which goes to the wastewater treatment plant. So there will be no on-site storage of any processed waste of any kind.
Does anyone else have any questions? No, I think this was an important thing to do, and we would like to have this done at least maybe 2 more times before town meeting, and hopefully the same presentation at town meeting, because I think that we're all aware of the fact that when Mass Water Resources, quote-unquote, won their lawsuit, the perception around town was, oh, well, we don't have to build a plant, and so we're off the hook, and certainly nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, the victory for Mass Water Resources was after, I'm sure, much money. I wouldn't even begin to try to think how much, but I know that they have a staff of 400 lawyers, and they have been working diligently for a number of years to try to beat that case. And in fact, it wasn't that they don't have to build something, it's just that they're putting off building the water filtration, and that ultimately, as you said, we'll probably ultimately have to build anyways, because I'm sure EPA is going to come back with a whole new set of rules, and so the fun begins all over again. But I think from our perspective and the decision that this board has taken is to proceed, because, as you said, is it better not to do it now while the money is available to us, interest-free? And from our perspective, this board's perspective, is our responsibility is securing for everyone that they can drink safe drinking water. That's really what it should be all about.
That's the most critical issue. It's easy to get lost in the regulatory framework of the whole thing, but the rules are really there for good reasons, and it is a public safety issue.
Right. All right, all I can say is, yes, sure.
A couple questions again. Yeah, you talked about the moving of the corrosion control plant. Is that the one they just built recently by the North Dyke pump station.
That's correct.
That will be moved to the present water filtration site.
The equipment within that facility will be moved. The facility itself will
Right.
then be used for the powdered activated carbon.
Okay.
So it was designed as a temporary facility. It was understood at the time it was constructed that ultimately corrosion control would occur somewhere else. But we see it as a viable facility for this other treatment technology that we need to implement anyway. So we're going to use the facility again.
Okay. And you talked about the one-time filtration. So when we build this, say it goes through and we build this and it's done in 2002, 10 years down the road, we're not going to say, oh, we need to build another X, Y, and Z plant to filter out something else. I mean,
Well, that's a good point. I can't predict what the water treatment laws are going to do.
right. I mean, not to put you on the spot, but
I guess the best answer to that question is that if you go the filtration route,
it's the best source.
you will have a lot of colleagues in the argument that you're doing enough, because I would say 95% of all the systems that were required to treat have gone this route. And that it's less likely that the EPA is going to pass rules that are going to affect 90% of the facilities that have done the right thing. It's more likely they're going to go after the 5% that have tried some less complete solution to the problem.
Just so that people know too, I think one of the reasons why we have to build this because we are getting our water from an open body of water. That was one of the requirements.
That's right. And for a lot of years, we were developing groundwater sources for towns because it was a way that they could avoid this treatment requirement.
Right.
Now they're even starting to require filtration on some groundwater sources if you can't meet exemption criteria.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
We're under consent order anyway for the DEP to have this done, so it's
That's
still,
right.
that hasn't waived at all. We're still under the orders.
That's right.
It has to be built.
Okay.
What we'd like to do is perhaps have, maybe next Wednesday evening, if it's possible for you guys to have a forum in the auditorium.
Sure.
And open it to the public, perhaps make it 7 o'clock next Wednesday evening. And we'll make sure that we'll hope that the press will help us out with that and make notice of that next Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock we'll have a public hearing. Not a public hearing,
Okay.
but an open forum, an open forum, so people can come and watch this presentation and perhaps have some questions for you folks or for the board or necessary people. We want to try to get as many people informed about what they're going to be asked to vote on June 12th. So
I think
we
that's
appreciate it. You guys have really put yourselves out, and you've been certainly very informative to the board and to the administrator and other personnel that you've come in contact with, and we certainly appreciate it, and your cooperation has been greatly appreciated. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. We'll just take a few seconds and let you guys, we'll just adjourn for another 5 minutes just to let them break down.
I'll go get a drink of water.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be reappointed to the Zoning Board of Appeals, so I would hope that it would be the board's nature to advertise this for anyone who is interested in serving this very important board, Zoning Board of Appeals. So is that the pleasure of the board to advertise?
Yes, I would advertise and make a motion. We advertise for another one. And my regrets that Peter put in 10 years for the town. Sorry to lose him.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. This Council on Aging thing, we've been kicking this around for a while about they want to put those flower boxes.
Yeah.
Has it-
Why don't we go down,
Madam Chair, just under discussion, no, we talked about it before. I went down there and looked at it, and I think the ones they're talking about maybe is in between the trees, like I think they got 2 down there now, they're made out of wood. They're in between the trees along the way. run parallel with the trees.
Yeah, but that blocks everybody from getting out of their cars when they're...
Well, I think they're asking for 5. I think if we maybe down it a little bit, maybe, and put temporary boxes in there, maybe they just put them in for the month of the summer. I think it'd give something for the seniors. I think that's something they would like to do, is kind of beautify the area a little bit.
Yeah, but they
down
don't
there.
say temporary, do they, anywhere?
Well, we could, we could
Yeah.
put it on a motion of temporary, 3 months out of the year.
Well, who's
Just
who's gonna pull them out, Mark, and who's gonna put them back, and can you move them without damaging them? And
Well, we
Where are you gonna
bring the
store 'em?
director in here and talk to her about it and
Yeah.
work something
I
out.
think if we could,
that's fine.
we could skip down there before our meeting for a few minutes and just look it over when we're down there next week.
Why not even, have the
Yeah.
director Carol come in, have her come in here, sit down, maybe we can work something out with her. I'm sure she's willing to.
Well, if it just, when we're going by, everybody just take a look so we know
Yeah,
what
well,
we're
that's
talking
not
about.
a-
Yeah.
Yeah, I
no
think
problem with that.
as long as we go down and we look at it, maybe it's,
Yeah.
Maybe she has an idea of
Yeah.
the size of the box.
okay. All right, so we'll move on that, the next meeting. Hopefully, everybody can get a chance to go down and look and see exactly what they're looking to do. Okay. And we haven't updated, in fact, I went there tonight before I came up to the Birdie Hill tank, and we've had an update submitted from the engineers overseeing the project, and
I believe all the stuff is supposed to be done by today.
yep,
I asked Bob Swetland about the fire hydrant on the inside of the fence. That's there to empty the tank in
Okay.
case of emergency.
so it's coming along very well.
Mhm.
And, we also had a request from a Richard Dunn of Fox Run Circle to install a second meter. And 2 years ago, we set a policy not to issue any second meters, to discourage overuse of water for purposes of sprinkler systems, and he had requested that we allow the second meter. Certainly, we know the reason why we did put the policy in, and if we ever do repeal that and go back, I'm sure we would have many other requests for this, and I think we'd be right back
Yeah.
where we were before, so. Is there any, I guess I would put it this way, is there any feeling on the board to change the policy that we instituted 2 years ago?
I think it would be a shame to go backwards. We already done this, and I mean, it would be more than just one looking for more meters. It would just be out of hand again.
Do we want to take a vote that way to continue the policy that we instituted 2 years ago? I'll accept the motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Committee reports, I know, did Deb leave, Mark? Oh. She want to come in on the solid waste?
Why she was here. I can address it.
Okay. Deb, you want to come up? Okay. I read the report before I came. We're very well put together. Good job. I'll open up to you, Deb, or Mark, or whoever on the committee.
I'll let you
Dan?
go ahead, Deb. If you want to address it.
I was just here for support.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I didn't,
Well, the Solid Waste Subcommittee put together a draft. It's called the Town of Clinton Solid Waste Rules and Regulation, and it's for the Selectmen's review. We're hoping by, I don't know if everyone had a chance to review it, but maybe by the next meeting, we could, take a vote on this and adopt the new rules for implementation for this, for the summer of 2000, actually. We'd like to get it implicated as soon as possible. I think it's something we need to do, and I don't know if any of the boards had a chance to read it. There are some new...
Yeah, I read it, and I thought it was very well put together. I think what you should do, though, is, and I certainly support it, is at least have a public hearing before, just to get out there and inform everyone of what the committee is trying to,
I think if the plan was, if the board was comfortable for the next selectmen's meeting, to schedule a public hearing during the selectmen's meeting, and then the board can take input from the public and then take action as they see.
I think
fit.
that's the best way to do it, Madam Chair.
But it was in response, I think, over the years, there hadn't been real defined rules and regulations, and both for the people working on the trash service and also for the residents and the public. So I think the committee would like to put this draft forward. If the board accepts it, start doing some public education and try to do a mailing and get it out maybe in the newspapers, and so people that are putting out trash know what the regulations are, and they know that we're limited what we can take and how we can take it, so it can only be put out a certain way, and that there'll be violations and penalties and fines if they don't. So I think it just kind of really makes it better for the town and for the people as well.
And just to touch on what Mike said, one of our committee members, Buddy McCraw, actually mentioned that if this did pass by the selectmen through the board, that one of the things would do to put these new rules, the packet out at where people could buy their trash stickers. So when they get the trash stickers, the merchants would hand them this packet, and they would have right on hand. And also the people, the men working the trash truck also would have these in the truck, or any DPW official for that matter. And if anyone questions, they have something now tangible to hand them. And I think that was the big problem before. And now, now we have something tangible to hand the people and educate them. And I'd like to publicly thank Mike for putting this together. It was nice. He did a good job with the recycling bit on there also.
Thank you. Yeah, help
Thank you.
all the committee members as well.
no, I think we should, have a public hearing, do it at our next meeting, and try to get some public input. And then, again, I think it's long time coming, and I know over time, as we've gotten into the recycling, there's always been a lot of, why didn't someone take this? And I had it outside, and I had a sticker on it, and, things like that. And so this is good. At least this way, everyone knows the rules and regulations. So.
Now, can we do, next Wednesday, when you do a presentation of the water filtration plant, is there any way?
No, that's not going to be a selectmen's meeting. That's going to be a public forum
Right.
out in the town hall.
Right, but can you maybe include this there that night too? Maybe put some packets out so people can see it, maybe do a short presentation?
Though, I mean, it wouldn't be a requirement of the Board of Selectmen to be there at the
Right,
public
right.
forum,
Mhm.
where I think we would, if it's a Board of Selectmen that you're looking for, a vote, I think we need to do that in a meeting.
Also, I think it would distract from the presentation
filtration,
meeting
okay.
next Wednesday. It's the presentation is going to be very important.
Mhm.
I mean, it's only 2 weeks, so
Right. No, I just so more people can, if there's a big turnout that night, at least some people can be aware of what's going on, so they can see it also.
Yeah. I suppose, I mean,
Right.
I don't know if we want to do it like.
Well, I mean, maybe we could just have the handouts for the people there, just that maybe if we had a...
It's about this town meeting.
Yeah.
Handouts for town meeting.
I mean, I would personally like to have the board vote on it and approve it before we hand them out.
Before that, yeah.
So I think we
I
should
feel
just
that
probably
same
wait.
way too, and I think Michael felt that way too, that it should be approved first, because
Right.
if you get too many copies of these packets out
And
there.
then it's not approved.
Right, and
Yeah,
it's not approved, people might think, if there's any changes made, then people might think, well, I have this copy,
And if there's a final draft and it's approved, we can... if we-
Yeah, that's what
by
I'm
the
saying.
12th,
Right.
then it...
Well, I think the next meeting would be after the 12th one, it would be on the 14th. Next selectmen's meeting, that'd be after.
Well, the only thing that we could do is if, I don't know, I mean, it is an off week, but if the board is available, we could always, where the engineers will be here next Wednesday at 7, if the board wanted to meet at 6:30.
I don't have a problem with
Meet
that.
at 6:30, and we'll do this at 6:30, do a public hearing, and hopefully move on it so that for town meeting, you can hand them out.
that makes sense to me, I would go along.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's okay with you?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Thanks, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess so. One of these weeks, we're gonna get on.
Sometimes the cases roll around.
Yeah.
Mark, I'd like to personally thank you for representing the board on the subcommittee. I have not made one meeting. Shame on me.
Well, you're welcome. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. We're running into a lot of problems, so. But I had a lot of good associates on the committee with me that helped me out. It was actually a learning experience for me too, so it was actually quite fun. I enjoyed it.
Good work. Senior Tax Relief Committee. Jerry, you going to speak to this?
No, Michael can.
Michael?
Yeah, I was
No, wait, just one question, Michael. Is there any committee that you're not on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to just be a liaison with the
Oh,
board,
okay.
so. On this here, we do have 5 people that have been appointed. There are 4 residents, and former Selectman McNamara is on that as well. My only question, the people that have been appointed were anxious to start meeting, and the question I had is I didn't know if the board wanted to designate certain positions, like there aren't any official town, there aren't officially any town positions or town officials that are on that committee. They're just town residents that are on it, so I didn't know if they wanted to denote someone from Council on Aging to be represented, or, someone from the board, or myself on behalf of the board, or just someone
I
to
thought
kind of be
that's
a
how we,
liaison
yeah, I
for the
thought that's
town.
how we were going to try to structure it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's, I would prefer to have it go that way. No, have it a cross-sectional. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there anybody from the board that would like to serve on it? Jerry?
All depends when they're meeting. I gotta get done with this parade yet. As right now, I don't have any time at all. But after the parade gets done,
Do they want to start it right away?
I think it could just, they might have one organizational meeting, but I think it'll be ongoing. It'll be probably a lengthy process, so it wouldn't be anything real quick. They might within the month have an organizational meeting just to get started, so, by the time of the parade afterwards, they'll probably just get going into the summer.
All right, Madam Chair, I'll volunteer for that committee.
Okay, good. And we'll see if we can get someone from the Council on Aging and Board of Assessors.
Yeah, we did have Dave Baird. He didn't volunteer, I think, officially as an assessor. He was just interested as a citizen, but he did request interest, and perhaps he could be the assessor's representative on there, so.
All right. Okay. As far as committee reports, I had a few things. First of all, we got started tonight, and I didn't get a chance, but I wanted to thank everyone for a great job on Monday for the parade, Memorial Day parade, and especially Chris Dezek and his committee, and Dennis, who did a terrific speech in Central Park, and Daria Jander and her group, and all of the participants, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful to see as many people out, and it was a gorgeous day, and as well, we'd like to thank the Superintendent MCI Lancaster, Kelly Ryan, for again supplying us with workers from MCI Lancaster to help us up at Woodlawn Cemetery. Greatly appreciated. And my second thing on the committee reports is, as Jerry said, the parade is only, tomorrow will be officially 25 days away. And we are a few of us with an awful lot of work, and we are meeting again Monday evening at 7, but on Tuesday evening we're having a second meeting, and we'll be meeting here in the chambers, and the intent of the meeting on June 6th, Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. is to get anyone here that would like to help us out the day of the parade. We're in desperate need of people. Quite honestly, for the last 14 to 16 months, we have had a committee that has consisted of Bill McNally, John and Donna Merriman, Ruth Karmataris, Jean Jakonski, Jerry Buffton, Julie Moran, Jim Gibbons, and Russ Stewart. And they have done, without a doubt, the most incredible job and put together a parade that I think they'll be talking about for another 50 years. And our thanks, and I know I speak for all of the board members, really and truly go out to these people, because if it hadn't been for this small group, I doubt very much we would have had a 150th parade. And the calls that they've made and the people that they've gotten to participate in this parade is just phenomenal. So on behalf of the board, I would just like to say thank you very much. So anybody that can be there on Tuesday at 6 would be greatly appreciated. So I hope we see someone show up. Okay. Public comment?
Madam Chair, just under public comment, had a conversation with the Assistant Parks Director over last weekend, and some kind of disturbing reports to me personally, seeing I was a member of the Parks and Recreation for 3 years, that in Central Park, just recently, we just had the fountain done and the new statues refurbished. I had reports of kids in the park with sidewalk chalk, writing on statues, things of that nature, on flower beds. So I'd just like to make a public plea to the people out there that a lot of money went into these statues. I believe I got in the fountain $200,000 that the town put up, and another $19,000 from the townspeople through local fundraising. So I'd just like to take the time to tell people, please respect the park. It's there for everyone to enjoy, and use some discretion when you're out there with your children.
Well, I think that's a good point, and I think that's an easy solution to really take care of, that we just make a request to the police department through the chief that we have extra patrols, and be it foot patrol, certainly the department is close enough to the park that I think we have to take extra attention to that fact and put out the message if there are people out there and want to deface these things or to damage them in any way, that there's been a lot of time, effort, and money put into bringing that park to make it look what it looks like today, which is probably the best in the state. So,
and just to touch on the fountain too, Madam Chair, I believe the basin in that's going to be 18 inches. So it's just a fact of watching the children on there, because a kid could easily slip in there and drown. So just respect the park. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, no other comment, then we are going into executive session. We have 2 executive sessions, both under Article 3, one for the DEP consent order, and the other for the police union grievance. Fire union, I'm sorry, I said police.
Yeah.
We got police on the brain.
Yeah.
Fire union grievance. So I'll accept the motion.
I make the motion, go into executive session under Article 3.
Second.
Any discussion? Calls a roll call vote. Mark, how do you vote?
Aye, Madam Chair.
Aye.
And Chairman votes aye. And before we do adjourn, I just want to, and I forgot to as well, make note that Mark Elworthy is not here tonight, not because he didn't want to be, but he was called away on business, I believe Monday evening, and he had to go to Georgia, and he's away for the week, so that's why Mark's not here. Okay. We'll be in executive session for probably half an hour, 45 minutes. The only other business that we'll be conducting is the signing of the warrants. And budget. And budget. So we won't be coming back out until open the session.
Till breakfast.
Till breakfast.